I want to talk about the Andrea match. For those unfamiliar, Andrea Botez and her older sister Alexandra are two of, in my opinion, based kind of looking at the numbers in their career, two of the most popular chess influencers in the world. They are both top 2,000 chess players in the world, and probably maybe the only other person up there in that sort of like because he's a little bit better of a chess player, but also an influencer is Hikaru, who's a very high tier chess player as well. They've done a lot for the game of chess in terms of exposure to people, especially when it comes to streaming it, competing, etc. There was a lot of controversy around this fight, so much that afterwards the Mogul Moves and Ludwig announced a sort of change in their decision. Walk us through from your perspective as somebody sitting at that commentary table, what happened in that match?
Yeah, so two versions. The first version is what we experienced live without review. And the second version is what after review and about an hour of discussion following the event, what decision we made collectively that night. So first, what happened was Andrea scored one knockdown early in the fight. And then in the final boxing round, she scored two clear knockdowns and what was disputed as a stoppage at the very end of the chess round, like literally within the last 5 seconds. So for context, Dina, who was getting punched by Andrea, getting the stoppages scored on her by Andrea, was winning by a landslide on the chess game. So
yeah, and she's a woman's grandmaster as well, which is a higher rank than Andrea in chess, technically, just for context.
Correct. Yeah. And higher than anyone besides Aman in the event. So strongest female chess player to ever chess box and showed it. She had a multi-minute time advantage. I think she ended with over 3 minutes on her clock. And didn't do nothing in boxing. She had a jab. She was defensive, trained evasive maneuvers to stay away and play to her advantage, which is part of chess boxing. She should do that. What happened at the end of the round, and I just rewatched it before the podcast with Ludwig. Ludwig was going and reviewing it live, so it's fresh in my mind. 5 seconds left. Andrea lands a shot with Dina up against the ropes. Dina had already been running around the whole round. She only has to survive another 4 seconds, and she's back to the board and gets to checkmate her opponent. She puts her arms up on the rope and is clearly fatigued and hurt. The ref initially separates, looks at Andrea. Andrea is good. Looks at Dina. And Dina's not good. So when he first separated, it was just because there was a clinch and then a separation. There was not a shot that initiated the stoppage that I saw, that anyone really saw. But when he looked at Dina, he saw enough damage to elicit a stun or a stoppage. And so as soon as the bell rung, he put his first finger up, which is where the controversy is. Did the bell ring before he started the stoppage, the motion for the stoppage? That's one question. 2, was the stoppage a stoppage because there was no shot landed? It was just fatigue. Yeah. Should he have even initiated a stoppage? And 3, if he did, and this is the part that I've had to mull over, there's a saying called "saved by the bell," and it comes from people in medieval times being buried alive and tying a string to their finger and then ringing a bell so they can unbury them and save them. But it's been used in boxing because when you get knocked down, instead of having to beat the 10 count, if the bell rings at the end of the round and you're able to make it to your corner, you can continue the fight. So if that was the case for this knockdown, which hasn't happened to my knowledge in chess boxing history yet, so our rule set hadn't fleshed out that particular scenario, does being saved by the bell happen? And so the direction that the commentary went was that direction. Ludwig and I were the main speakers when this happened, but it's okay, that was either not ruled a third stop down in a round or a fourth in a fight and thus over, or she was saved by the bell because the count didn't finish or the bell rung before it registered, right? So we just continued the fight. Dina won, checkmate in 2 moves, and the end. And then After the stream ended, we go to the after party, which is right behind where all the fighters walked out. We had, open bar food. Everyone that got VIP tickets got to hang out with the fighters and Ludwig and everyone else. And we had a little corner where it was all the chess boxing officials, timekeeper, and then me and Ludwig, just kind of like reviewing this and talking about it, because Andrea had spoken to the event producer who had spoken to Ludwig. It was like, hey, I think that was wrong. So like, okay, well, we'll check it out. So we review it. There's a couple different opinions in the conversation. And long story short, we're like, okay, a strong enough argument could be made that the stoppage initiated when he put his finger up. And even if that happened at the same time as the bell ringing, that would have constituted a stoppage immediately upon putting the finger up. You don't have to get to the end of the 8 seconds for it to be a stoppage. It's a stoppage when you decide that she needs time to recover. So we're like, okay, we're going to award Andrea a belt too. We're not going to take Dina's away. They both won in their respective kind of realms. People are going to disagree about this. It's actually good for the event if that happens, because it sparks debate. People learn the sport better. People are talking about the sport longer. It opens up a door for a rematch. Why not give Andrea a belt? She clearly won the boxing. It was a landslide victory in the boxing. And it was the separation of a few seconds where, it could have been multiple people's fault, from, the chess tech being slightly off with like timer, so like event producers, the referee in there for like separating when there wasn't a shot landed and starting the count instead of just separating and saying continue, the timekeeper for ringing the bell when there was an active count going, even though they happened at pretty much the same time. It could have been like a bunch of people's faults, but this is not really the point. The point is, they both did an amazing job. They put in an awesome show. They both deserve a belt, whatever a belt means.
Thanks for watching Visionaries on YouTube. For more content, please subscribe to the Overcome channel.